horde of gigantic goblins is wreaking havoc in a town, when a powerful exorcist named Haruyoshi Kuga shows up and creates a powerful spell to protect the citizens. He sought too much power, regarded as the strongest, as he thought it could make him happy. However, he opposed the imperial court and met his unfortunate fate, dying at the hands of his favorite student. Before breathing his last breath, he cast a reincarnation spell and promised to be undefeated in his next life. In a room, Blaise Lamprouje casts a ritual on his youngest child, Sika, to learn about his magic affinity. However, he is disappointed, along with his other sons, to discover that Sika lacks magic. Haruyoshi is reborn as Sika of the Lamprouje clan, an important clan of the mages, through a mistress. However, despite having no magical power, Sika can feel the overwhelming spiritual power in him. Later, the boy practices his spiritual magic in the forest behind their house. He successfully creates shikigamis out of leaves when his second brother, Gray, appears. The older brother attempts to punch him, but Seka commands his shikigami to protect him. At 7 years old, Seka celebrates his birthday alone, and most people in their estate just leave him alone. He then learns that he was born in another world in similar ways to the land of Europe in his previous world. While looking for his coat, he hears a knock at the door and opens it to see Aoife. One of the maids gives it back to him after seeing it in the bushes. The boy expresses his gratitude, thinking that it must be Gray who has thrown his coat. Just then, the bully brother appears and mocks him for not getting into the Lodanea Magic Academy, which produced a lot of court mages. Their father, Blaise, appears and calls for Gray, as he's going to teach him magic. Seka requests to attend as well, and his father lets him. In the courtyard, Luft showcases his wind magic and easily pulverizes a rock in front of him. Gray comes next, and uses his fire magic to destroy the rock. To embarrass his younger brother, he urges Sika to try and aim for a rock as well. Sika gets the wand and decides to show off so that no one can trample on him. He chants a spell that produces a blue fireball, much to the shock of his brothers and father. Blaise explains that there are people who can use magic without being born with it. However, he can't let Seka study at the Magic Academy, as mages born without magic don't become great successes. Instead, Blaise will tutor him, like his brothers. Seka heeds the words of his father and concentrates on studying the world and magic, and soon he is 11 years old. While creating paper shikigami in his room, he thinks back to the time when he was an exorcist and sealed and tamed many powerful monsters. He attempts to find the door where he sealed it and releases Yuki, a weasel demon. The demon immediately recognizes her master due to his soul, but Sika is surprised that her form is now a little girl. She tells him it might be because of the state of his spiritual power and the effect of the reincarnation on them. She transforms herself so she can hide her presence while with Seka. The next morning, he witnesses Gray bullying Aoife after she accidentally spills water on him. Gray tells her to come into his room tonight so he can educate her on how to be a slave. Seka comes to the rescue, and the older brother attempts to punch him, but he easily blocks it. Gray leaves seething in anger, and Aoife thanks Seka for helping her. Later in the forest, Seka leads Aoife to an injured creature. The maid tells him it is a baby carbuncle that was attacked by crows. He then tries to heal the injured creature using his spell without the girl having to look at him. She praises him for learning how to use magic despite being born without it. He also commends her for having an innate connection to the spirits of animals, which she tried to hide. She is shocked that he discovers her secret and reveals that she can see and summon elementals, which usually gather around sources of magic. She tells him that the little creatures usually gather around his things, but they avoid him, which she finds interesting. He then summons one of the elemental spirits called Hitodama, which he seals and has Aoife command it to disappear. After several tries, she finally commands the elemental spirit to vanish. Seeing that she has a natural talent, Seka thinks of training her and making her his ally. Now 12 years old, Gray and Luft tell Seka that they helped him train. Gray points out that, as the mistress's son, he can't be an heir anyway, so he'll help him train to go to the army. Luft stops his brother from being rude. A maid announces that a large monster is spotted nearby, much to their shock. Just then, they can hear the monster outside their estate coming in their direction. Upon seeing the elder Newt, Gray gets scared and runs away, while Luft orders the maids to close all the windows. Meanwhile, Seka runs outside to save the other servants, but sees Aoife commanding the Hitodama to protect her. He then lures the monster and uses a spell to defeat it in a single attack, much to everyone's surprise. Blaise prepares a feast to celebrate Seka's defeat and offers to reward him for his heroic deed. Seka then requests to enroll at the Lodanea Academy. Remembering his prowess at using magic, his father allows him to take the exam and prove himself worthy of studying at the Magic Academy. He then also asks if he can bring Aoife with him as his servant, to which Blaise disagrees, as the girl doesn't have a magical power. However, Seka tells him he can prove otherwise. He tells the servant to shout "Flame Knot," and create the biggest fireball she can if she wants to go with him. Wanting to be with her kind master, Aoife chants the spell and produces mid-rank firepower. Witnessing this, Blaze allows the two to go to the academy together. However, Gray opposes this, as their family tradition doesn't allow two brothers to go on the same path. The father agrees with this and reveals that he will send Gray to the army instead. Enraged with this decision, Gray challenges Sika to a duel, and whoever wins will attend the academy as the family's magician, and the loser will have to leave the house. Blaze agrees with this and tells him that the duel will happen the next day, but they are not allowed to use real swords or any mid-rank magic or higher. While talking with Yuki in his room, Seka hears a knock and sees Luft outside his room. The older brother then gives him his birthday gift, a glass pen he can use for studying. He apologizes to Sika for not being a good enough brother and tells him that he's proud of him. Suddenly, Gray attacks from outside his window and challenges him to a duel, as he can't wait for tomorrow. He then tells Sika to forfeit the fight tomorrow, should he lose now. Gray then starts the attack and casts the spell Flame Knot on him, saying he can use it better than Aoife. However, Sika dispels it quickly and uses a barrier to protect himself from Gray's attacks. He then uses one of his paper dolls to control Gray's body and make him surrender by breaking one of his arms. After surrendering, Gray falls asleep from exhaustion. While looking at his brother, Seka remembers that he prepared for 6 months to study at the Magic Academy. He remembers when he released another creature he sealed, named Bonz, a one-eyed demon, and ordered him to lure the elder newt outside its nest. Fortunately, everything went according to plan, and no one got hurt in the process. Yuki comments that he could have done what he wanted faster and shown the humans his true power. However, Seka replies that he wants to be one of the normal humans and be cunning in this lifetime. That spring, Seka finally leaves for the academy, and Luft sees him off and delivers the message from Blaze that Seka should study hard at the school. In the carriage, Seka gives Aoife a necklace with magic stones that will draw the elements to her. He thinks that it will be great if he can help her improve her magic further. After Seka experiences motion sickness, the two finally arrive at the town of Lodonea. Meanwhile, in his office, Blaze thinks of Seka and how he met him 12 years ago. One rainy day, a strange woman left the baby Seka in his care and told him that the infant was his younger brother Gilbert's child. Gilbert was a free-spirited person who wanted to be an adventurer but went missing in demon territory. Since Seka has rare black hair and black eyes, Blaze wonders if the boy is the son of Gilbert and a demon. He feels bad for what he did to Gray, but Seka could become a hero who protects the nation, or a demon king who destroys everything in his path. He can only hope that the academy is the perfect place for Seka to choose the right path. Meanwhile, Seka and Aoife arrive at an inn. The servant then leaves him to get some food. Yuki then cautions him about Aoife's budding feelings for him, which the boy dismisses as he can't figure out girls. The next morning, the two finally arrive at the Ladonia Magic Academy to take their exam. The instructor tells them to place their hand over a ball to measure their aptitude for the 4 elements. Aoife goes first, and the ball slightly glows under her touch. The instructor informs her that, albeit weak, she has fire and wind aptitude. Seka comes next, but the ball doesn't react to him. The instructor is confused, but the boy tells her that he doesn't have a magical power. The woman assures him that he can still take the test nonetheless. The exam takers around them gossip that he will just use his connection to get into the academy. Just then, a girl with fiery red hair arrives and announces herself as Miyu, a commoner. She then places her hand over the ball, and it glows brightly. The instructor is shocked, as she has an aptitude for the 4 elements. She leaves, but tells the boy that a magicless person like him has no place in the academy. Seka looks intently at her, as she's someone he knew very well in his previous life. The second part of the exam begins, and the students must aim for a target and unleash their magic. The examiners try it one by one and use their elemental magic to hit the target. For her turn, Aoife uses her fire magic to aim at the target, which surprises everyone as she uses mid-rank magic. For the next target, she uses her wind magic, which ruins the target. She apologizes to Seka, but the master praises her for a job well done. Seka comes next, but the examiners around him doubt his skills. He unleashes his blue fire on one target and breaks another target by chanting a spell. He then freezes another stone, which startles everyone. Later, the male instructor is still looking at the result of Seka's test when the female teacher arrives. He tells her that he is astounded by the boy's skills with spells, even though he is not innately born with magic. However, he is more shocked by Miyu, who easily commands the 4 elements. The female teacher suggests that Miyu may be the hero from the legend who will defeat the demon lord when the Great War happens again. The next day, Seka and Aoife check the results of the examination, hoping that they pass. He is surprised that he ranks 3rd and glad that Aoife gets 2nd place. Meanwhile, Miyu ranks 1st, which doesn't surprise the boy anymore. Several days after the announcement, They receive a notice that they are officially enrolled at the academy as students. On their way to the entrance ceremony, Seka notices dark elements hanging around the forest of the academy. Upon inspection, they see a magic circle created not long ago. Since it might belong to the school, they chose not to touch it. However, Seka is suspicious about it, so he leaves one of his shikigamis. As the entrance ceremony starts, Seka detects monsters coming in their way from the forest. Just then, a group of lesser demons barge their way inside the hall. As the students run to safety, Seka observes the demons, who are acting strange and seem to be looking for something. He notices that they are quite slow to act and suspects that they are sent to be decoys. He then uses his spy and locates the caster in the forest. He tells Aoife to escape and teleports himself to the forest. He comes face to face with a greater demon, who summons his servants to attack Seka. However, he uses a spell to teleport them. Impressed, the demon decides to fight with Seka himself. He introduces himself as Ghoul Galios, a demon of metal who controls fire and earth. The two engage in a duel, but the greater demon proves more powerful than Seka and slices off his arm. The boy then asks the beast what he has been looking for through the eyes of the lesser demons he sent to the academy. Galios admits that he is looking for the hero and mocks the boy for not believing in the legendary battle 100 years ago. The demon insists that the prophecy about the hero is true, and he finds her in the form of Miyu, who has incredible powers. After confessing his motive, Galeos slays Seka and starts to leave the forest to go after Miyu. However, he is shocked when he sees Seka alive and well. Irked, he plans to end the boy's life immediately to slay the hero. Seka announces that he used to be the strongest, so he will give the demon a hard time to finish him off. He then unleashes spells against the demon, which puts Galeos at a disadvantage. For his final blow, Seka summons his dragon Mizuki, which devours the demon in an instant. Back at the academy, Seka learns that Miyu defeated all the demons on her own. While looking at the girl, he plans to make her the strongest, so he will attract fewer enemies and get to live this time. As Seka and Aoife walk to their class, the boy says hi to Miyu. However, the girl angrily tells him to never talk to her. As Seka and Aoife continue their walk, a pot of demon blood suddenly drops from the sky, and they are lucky to only avoid it due to Seka teleporting them out of the way. It turns out the glasses-wearing professor, Mr. Cordell, accidentally dropped the object out of his window from a high floor. He apologizes and explains that he is using the blood for research. In the classroom, the teacher asks Miyu and Aoife to walk in the Lodonea forest and deliver the new student roster to the temple. Seka remembers that the teacher is talking about the same spot where he battled the devil. He asks Aoife to refuse to go and volunteers himself to go with Miyu instead. As the two trek the forest, Miyu asks the boy what his motives are for coming with her. He tells her that all he wants is time to chat with her. Suddenly, Miyu gets a headache. They look around, and he sees a magic circle drawn on the broken trunk of a tree. As they approach it, the spell around the tree activates, sending them to a dungeon. The moment they arrive, serpent-like warriors appear to attack, but Miyu finishes them up before they can even start. Just before Miyu thinks the battle is done, an ogre appears behind her. Seka saves her by magically lifting a patch of earth that crushes the monster's head. As they walk and explore, Seka uses his talismans to light their way, impressing Miyu. He then puts talisman papers on the ceiling of the tunnels, so that his Shikigami honeybees on the surface can better detect them. Dozens of monsters suddenly appear. While Miyu defeats a lot of them with her sword, she is still hit by the club of an ogre, leaving her reeling on the floor. Seka quickly uses his powers to eliminate many of the monsters and get near Miyu. As the girl falls unconscious, Seka summons a giant centipede, eliminating all monsters. Later on, Miyu wakes up with a headache like before, so Seka summons a barrier around them, causing curses like her headache to disappear. He asks when her head first started to hurt. She replies that it started the moment she stepped into the school, but she never guessed it was a curse, since she found no sigil on her. She asks the boy to search for it in the places she could not see, and she strips to allow him to look. Seka takes a close look at her and finds no sigil. Since she can't stay in the barrier forever, so Seka asks for a strand of her hair, and he ties it up on one of his talismans, putting the curse on the paper as a substitute for Miyu. With the pressure lifted, Miyu teases Seka about Aoife, telling him that the girl is obviously in love with him. Despite this, he tells her that they're like family. He explains that he is the son of a mistress, and so Aoife was the only one who treats him normally. Miyu then becomes sad as she goes into her family life, and how her parents are known figures in the guild. She remembers that all she has wanted since she was a child was to fight. There was a time when half of their party died in a fight against monsters, but little Miyu cheerfully told her party that she wanted to continue on their adventure. The adult members all looked at her like she was a monster. Due to this, Miyu feels like a freak for being in love with fighting. Seka tells her that she just hasn't seen the environment that suits her best yet. The boy continues to tell her she's not a freak, making Miyu feel accepted. They continue on exploring the dungeon, fighting monsters along the way. They reach the final room, and they enter it to battle the serpentine boss. With a few attacks and a stab to its head, Miyu defeats the boss. She hugs Seka in the heat of victory, only to realize what she's doing and let go. Walking more, they find a mithril sword lodged on the giant dismembered limb of a dragon. Seka pulls the sword out and gives to Miyu. However, a ring attached to the sword falls off, and the boy grabs it because he feels power surrounding it. The two enjoy their adventure together so much that they promise they will be adventurers together someday. After the two return to the surface, Seka told the teacher everything about the dungeon. They found out that the academy had no idea there was a dungeon under the temple. Later, Seka goes to Mr. Cordell's lab. He informs the professor that his curse on Miyu has failed. No longer needing a disguise, Cordell removes his glasses and puts his hair up, revealing his real style. The villain says that he is a spy placed in the school to get rid of the hero. He cackles as he starts his spell to eliminate Miyu, only for the boy to inform him that his spell is only targeting his talisman. Seka knows that the curse activates on anyone who bathes in demon blood, like when Miyu got drenched in it when she battled a demon. However, the boy also bathed his talisman with demon blood when the professor tried to drop the pot of it on him before, so Seka transferred the curse to his talisman. He summons a demon and attaches his talisman to its chest, making demon blood rain on the boy and transferring the curse to him. He then cast a spell, returning the curse to its caster. Suddenly, Cordell is leaking blood out of every orifice of his face, and then he drops to the ground. Later on, Seka gives Aoife the ring he found in the dungeon, making elementals gather around the thankful girl. Seka sees Miyu and greets her, only for the girl to not talk to her like before. The vice principal asks Seka and Aoife to go to the principal's office tomorrow evening. Tomorrow comes, and they find that the principal is a dwarf. She asks one of them to enter the mixed combat tournament being held in the capital. She introduces the serious-looking new student, Mabel, and tells them that she will enter into the tournament too. Miyu heard about the invitation and is upset that she was not invited. They talk about Mabel, and Miyu thinks she might be a noble girl who never experienced any hardship. Mabel overhears her and gets insulted, and so insults her back by saying she didn't get chosen for the tournament because she is weak. Because of this, Miyu challenges Mabel to a sword duel. Miyu attacks, but she ends up being disarmed. The winner drops her sword and readies to leave. Miyu tells her that she noticed that she secretly used magic on her sword. However, Mabel thinks she is just making excuses for being weak, frustrating Miyu. Mabel then puts her attention on Seka and Aoife and tells them to forfeit the tournament. However, Seka is just all smiles as he tells her he will think about it. The two then approach Miyu to see if she is okay, but she's already over her defeat. Later on, Seka is in a carriage with Mabel as they head to the capital. The boy is upset since Aoife and Miyu are also taking the ride with them. They arrive at the capital, and Mabel has already disappeared. They go to the Colosseum, where the tournament is being held, to look at the board of matchups. They see that if both Seka and Mabel continue to win their matches, then they will face each other in the semifinals. Seka tells the girls to go on ahead and explore the city, while he goes to the inn to rest up. Secretly, he just wants to look into why the academy did not choose Miyu to enter the tournament. The day of the tournament has come, and the Colosseum is filled with people as the announcer starts the event. Seka enters the ring as the first contestant. His opponent is known as the Mad Dog Speedster, Dennis Regan. The man draws his sword, confident he can defeat Seka with ease. As the match begins, Dennis charges in and stabs the boy, only to hit the boy's shikigami. Suddenly, Seka is already behind the man, and he casts a spell, sending the man flying at fast speeds to outside the ring and winning the match. The boy then joins Miyu and Aoife in the audience section to watch the rest of the tournament. The next match is between the water mage, Belem, and the mysterious white-haired Kyle. As the match starts, Belem is instantly paralyzed. Kyle approaches the defenseless man and stabs him with his sword to a bloody death. The crowd goes wild with excitement, despite the scene being so gruesome. Seka looks at the winner and sees how expressionless he is despite just killing a man. He knows that the man bears the evil eye, and it is his secret to paralyzing his opponent. Seka's next opponent is the golem puppeteer, Labinare. Labinare comes out from behind her golem, fully confident she will win. She orders her golem to attack, but Seka casts a spell that cuts it to pieces, giving the boy his win. Seka then joins the girls in the audience. Their attention goes to the ring, as it's Mabel's turn to fight. Her opponent is Howlo, a powerful earth mage. Holwo attacks with a series of earth magics that Mabel cuts into pieces with her sword. Howlo then summons a series of earth walls, but they are all easily destroyed by Mabel's blade projectiles. Seka explains that she is using gravity magic to make all her weapons heavier than rocks. Both he and Miyu are impressed, since the girl is doing no incantation and needs to cast her spell at the moment of throwing. As the battle becomes close range, Mabel breaks her enemy's weapon and points her sword at him, winning the fight. As the announcer calls Mabel a hero, Sika questions why. Miyu tells him that a hero known in history was named Mabel, and so many people think she is its reincarnation, especially since she uses the same weapon. Later at night, a man is putting small paper on a pigeon's leg. He lets it fly, only for another bird to attack it. Seka appears before the man, telling him he knows he is a demon spy. The man says he doesn't know what he is talking about and tries to leave, only to try to stab Sika with a dagger from behind. Before he can, Sika summons vines from the ground that immobilizes the man. The boy asks what he was going to report, but the man refuses to answer. So, the boy summons Satori, the mind-reading monkey, Ayashaki. Satori tells the boy that the man works for someone called Bol Bofis, the slaughter baron, but the most in charge is Fel Marcus el Edentrad. Satori also tells him that the man is a devil who works in the demon territory near the imperial border. Seka then asks the man the name of the hero he is spying on, and Satori confirms it is Mabel, since she is at the right age, as the prophecy implies, as well as her hair color, strength, and gender. As a reward for Satori's help, Seka lets the Ayashaki eat the man. The boy then gets the message from the pigeon and reads it, only to be disappointed that he can't because it is coded. However, he now realizes that the Academy plans to get Mabel to win the tournament to attract the demon's attention away from the true hero, Miyu. He realizes that Mabel's true identity must be hidden, but he doesn't mind what is happening so far, since it keeps Miyu safe. The next day, Kyle defeated another opponent because of his evil eye. Seka and Mabel also have matches that they overcome easily. After Mabel's match, she tells him to forfeit the tournament since he will die if he doesn't. However, Seka refuses, frustrating the girl. Seka returns to the girls in the audience section, just in time to see Kyle face his next opponent, Rhaenys. Rhaenys casts light magic on himself, making Kyle's evil eye unusable against him. However, Kyle is just calm and walks slowly to his opponent. Rhaenys casts magic after magic at him, but nothing harms the boy. Seka realizes Kyle is shielding himself with gravity magic, just like Mabel. Rhaenys creates an army of golems, but all of them are instantly destroyed by Kyle's shadow magic tendrils. Rhaenys runs to his opponent, but he gets paralyzed the moment he gets near the boy because of the boy's shadow. While his opponent cannot move, Kyle readies his sword towards him. The whistle blows before he can slice him up, announcing that Kyle is the winner. Later on at night, Seka is trying to sleep on his bed while talking to Yuki about tomorrow's battle. He then realizes that Yuki is actually in her human form, holding on to him while under the covers. She insists on sleeping next to him. Just before they go further with the conversation, Seka's owl Shikigami sees Mabel on the roof of the inn, readying an attack with her sword. Seka quickly pushes Yuki out of the way, making the fox girl think the boy is being aggressive. The roof explodes, leading Seka to remark that Mabel is disturbing his sleep. Seka dodges the girl's attack and sends the battle outside. Mabel is breathing heavily from facing the boy. An old man suddenly appears, wondering what's going on. Mabel throws a blade near the old man, and as the boy gets distracted, he doesn't realize that the girl is already gone. Mabel remembers when she was still a child, sleeping in the shade of a tree with other groups of children. The memory makes the girl melancholy as she stares at the moon in the street. Seka approaches her, making the girl ready her dagger. However, the boy only wants to talk. Mabel tells him she only wanted to injure him so he would forfeit the match tomorrow. She asks again for the boy to forfeit. Seka changes the subject and tells her he knows she is only in the tournament as Miyu's replacement, shocking the girl. He explains he knows the plan is to win the tournament and become the fake hero to draw the demon's attention. Mabel tells him that he is wrong since the job is for her to get killed by Kyle so that the demons will think the hero is dead. She continues to tell him about the Rugrock Merchants Association and how they trained her and Kyle to be mercenaries at a young age. She reports that the purpose of the tournament is for the association to test if Kyle is the perfect mercenary. To do so, the association put a hole in Kyle's head and implanted magic into it, making him a perfect mercenary who cannot feel emotions and follows orders without question. She reports that the association's training style was to make the students friends, only to make them kill each other until only one of them became a mercenary. The only reason Mabel was not killed was because they realized they could use her in the tournament to make Kyle famous. However, the girl doesn't care for the mission, since she plans to kill Kyle in the finals for killing her brother. However, Seka sees right through her and knows that Kyle is her brother. Mabel answers that her brother is counting on her to kill him to set him free. Our protagonist has made up his mind and plans to defeat Kyle in the finals, much to the girl's protests. He then tells her that what her brother would want is not death, but the freedom of his sister. Mabel thanks him but still plans to beat him tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, and it's time for Sika and Mabel to battle. The moment the match begins, Mabel attacks with quick speed, only for Sika to dodge. He then makes the girl's weapon 1,000 times heavier, making her unable to use it. He ties her up with vines and grabs the girl's axe, only to show the crowd that he's won. As Sika leaves the ring, Mabel acknowledges that he is strong. The next match is Sika versus Kyle. Kyle doesn't like that things don't go as planned, but he is glad his sister is still alive, since he can still kill to follow his orders. Sika tells his opponent that once he defeats him, he will force him to apologize to his sister. Moving first, Sika summons mist to obscure everyone's vision, rendering the evil eye powerless. As Kyle relentlessly moves forward, he summons a powerful minotaur. As he's unfazed, the mage says the lack of emotion doesn't make the perfect soldier, as such things would prevent reckless fighting. The demon knocks him back with a single blow. Just then, a curse takes over the assassin's body, and he immediately summons a barrier to counteract it. The curse is dispelled, but the damage upon activation destroys the boy's body. Kyle clings to him, relaying final words of apology for his sister. As his heart stops, Sika summons Shikigami, insulted that they'd battle him in curses. He begins a spell to raise the dead, but Yuki calls out, saying it'll draw too much attention. Reminded of his past life's demise, he stops. The tournament ends, with him supposedly incinerating the opponent's body. However, he simply hid it in the void, allowing them to give him a proper burial. He relays the brothers' final message, an apology for a clover. Mabel tears up, remembering how they had a silly fight, as Kyle accidentally broke her clover hairpin before his surgery. He tells her to go to the academy and let him handle things. Outside, most details were explained to the two ladies, except the part about being a hero. Miyu then challenges her to a duel, where she's the only one allowed to use magic. The match ends with the heroes win as expected, so she tallies their score as 1 win each. Reading Mabel's competitiveness, she guesses that the tournament must have been a chance for her to fight her brother again. With this, they decide to be rivals and training partners, working to get stronger. At the school, Seka reports to the principal, who explains Mabel's purpose of hiding Miyu and the merchant's goal of taking her life. Her goal then was to use him to beat Kyle and take the girl home, knowing well that he's a powerful person. His responsibility now is to act as a proper senior and guide her new life. Returning to his friends, he looks for Mabel, who cowers in fear, saying she doesn't want to study anymore, as he's too strict of a tutor. She begs for Aoife's help, but cries as the maid says that he's too easy on her. As summer break begins, Seka is asked to investigate a dragon in the kingdom of Asteria, instead of returning home. Miyu and Mabel ask to join, but are quickly denied as both of them have prior engagements. To her surprise, Aoife alone is invited to come. Just then, a boisterous young man enters with an attendant, calling the school old and modest. Walking up to Seka, he introduces himself as Cecilio, Crown Prince of Asteria. Before they could complete introductions, he sets his eyes on the beautiful maid and invites her to become one of his wives, even asking her master how much he'd sell her for. Worried about the other students, the woman with him, Lisa, encourages him to stop for now, so they move to a more private room. Talking about the dragon, the prince shares that it's been living in peace with their people for over a century. However, it's acting strangely and has begun attacking crops and cattle recently. Legend says it was hatched from an egg by the queen of the kingdom years ago. Giving him the job to investigate, the royalty takes his leave. The two girls later pull Seka over, worried about Aoife, knowing well how dense the boy is to her feelings. A couple of days later, the two left with the prince's entourage, and the girl shared how it was nice to be invited into his harem. Feeling oddly uneasy, her master swallowed his nausea, and they arrived at the kingdom's capital, Protoaster. It's a marvelous place, but it recently turned glum when the dragon began attacking. Just then, the greater dragon swooped down, almost hitting them. A man summons a lava tiger, using it to drive the flying beast away. However, it tries to pounce on Aoife as well, and is only prevented by Seka's talisman. Before things get worse, its master, Zekt, calls the summoning back, and is promptly scolded by Cecilio, saying he has bigger things to worry about. The mercenary explains that the dragon has begun attacking civilians. Introducing the two, the prince regrettably admits that he's hired the mercenary to slay the dragon. Hearing this, Seka urges him to reconsider, saying it won't be possible, and that the dragon might just leave to attack a different kingdom. Annoyed that his job is being stolen, Zekt tells the spoiled kid to leave. Remembering how the tiger almost attacked Aoife, he warns the summoner not to show his beasts around him, unless he wants them gone without a trace. With the prince barely de-escalating the situation, Seka wonders if he's been granted permission to slay the symbol of the nation. He backs away as Seclio says that he has full authority over the situation. Realizing that he's overstepped, he then scolds Aoife for panicking in the face of danger, leaving herself defenseless. While he knows that it was harsh, he's also well aware that such situations need to be dealt with right away. As someone who went through something similar, he doesn't want her to experience it as well. They later go through all the library documents about the dragon, and he sees that something similar happened 150 years ago. Born several centuries ago, it's uncertain that the queen hatched it herself, but it did live alongside the people. At one point, a female dragon came to Asteria, and the two lived on the mountain together. After a while, they began attacking others like they're doing now, presumably because they had produced offspring. The female dragon died a century ago, and their children left when they grew up. He suddenly decides to see the beast himself, promising to run away if he's seen, but prohibiting her from joining nonetheless. Late at night, Aoife knocks on Seka's door, sharing that the prince was calling for her. He promises to talk to him in the morning, and the two decide to share his bed tonight, as she's afraid of being left alone. Lying down, he wonders what she thinks of Cecilio, and says she doesn't have to stop herself for his sake. Feeling pushed away, she recalls being scolded yesterday, and promises to work hard not to become a burden. Quickly correcting the misunderstanding, he says it isn't a bad deal for her. In tears, she ends the conversation and goes to sleep. He wakes up to see her gone, and Yuki lectures him about her feelings and how he shouldn't be so dense. Seka later goes to the prince, who asks that he apologize to Aoife for him. He shares that he isn't only attracted to her beauty, but also the air of wisdom surrounding the young lady. Her master isn't against the maid going to him, as long as she chooses to do so herself. He then shares his plan to go to the dragon in the mountains, assuring that he'll be safe. Knowing that he'll be gone for a few days, the prince gets some ideas in his head. With the two apart, Lies asks to speak to Aoife alone, and shares how she noticed her identity right away. To her shock, the woman says she's a descendant of her race, the elves. Inviting her to join the harem with her, she says she must already know that the boy she serves is a monster. Lise calls Seka a monster that the spirits avoid, as if they detest him like the devil's miasma. Aoife defends her master, explaining how they grew up together, but falls silent when asked about his real family's lineage. Regardless, she believes in his humanity. The older girl warns her, and invites her to at least see the harem. Meanwhile, Seka has made his way to the dragon's nest, courageously facing the beast and its ferocious attacks. Summoning a demon, he stuns the enemy for a moment, and uses the opportunity to capture it safely. Moving on to the nest, he finds the egg, and tells Yuki that the male changed into a female to lay it, just like many other animal species. Riding on his existing knowledge, he carefully turns the egg a few times, and realizes that the legends about the queen hatching an egg might not be so far-fetched after all. Meanwhile, Lies explains that the harem is likely different from her imaginations, and a place quite similar to a school. The ladies there are educated by many teachers, thoroughly preparing them to take on roles as officials, maybe even as the next queen. Given the current queen's wisdom and belovedness as a ruler, Cecilio feels the pressure of succeeding her. That said, he's not a bad person, and would value her support quite well. With the dragon casually resting beside him, Seka huffs in exhaustion, having been left to roll the egg over multiple times. He tries to leave, wanting to let the others know that the danger has passed, but the creature wakes up and pulls him back, unwilling to let the helper leave. At the mansion, Aoife is surprised to see Cecilio, accompanied by a few other men. Talking about finances, the prince explains that they're processing her release from slavery, and that he'll buy her freedom from her master. After hearing about his dangerous nature from Lies, he can't just let them be together. To his surprise, she refuses to accept freedom, insisting that it's up to her. The prince falters, but the man preparing the paperwork insists, saying she'll realize her mistake eventually, and that they should get her thumbprint first, even though by force. She tries to defend herself, but the elf stops her with her magic, and wounds her thumb to get her print. Just then, the gust blew, as Seka arrived on the dragon's back, leaving everyone speechless. Saying he's befriended the dragon, he asks for someone's help to warm its egg, preferably with fire magic. Seeing Aoife, he reaches his hand out in invitation. Delighted, she runs to her master, declaring her love, regardless of being unrequited. As they return to the nest, the lava tiger appears and runs at them. Seka incapacitates it again, and tells the mercenaries to come out. Zekt is surprised to see him, sharing that the foolish prince never even guessed that he was after the egg from the beginning. The tiger's body melts the spell and pounces, but is sent flying by a torrent of water. Using her ring and her power, she vows to never sit idly again. As they all charge at the pair, the boy uses a talisman to completely eradicate the summoning, as he warned. Instead of attacking again, they run away in fear of the dragon's glare, but Seka captures them all, and Aoife burns the leader's grimoire. Delighted by her growth, he praises her. Later at the office, the mercenaries are arrested. The boy then reports that the dragon's hostility was caused by its egg, adding that it calmed down because he helped her take care of it. Recalling the legend of the royal family hatching an egg, he encourages the prince to repay the creature's kindness and reform the family-like relationship it has with the kingdom. Saying that the imperial court will be dissatisfied with such an indecisive solution, Cecilio refuses and asks him to slay the dragon instead. Worried about his position as the heir, he insists, even ordering his guards to capture the boy when he refuses. He considers accepting confinement, but loses control when the prince approaches Aoife, trying to take her once more. Incredulous, he calls the immature and foolish prince. As he realizes that he's overstepped, Lise laughs, asking to hear the girl's opinion. Hearing her refuse the imposition sternly, the elf says it's time to accept the rejection. She apologizes to Sika and thanks him for his work, asking that he forget the prince's foolish words. Speaking to Aoife alone, she gives her a few rare light spirits of her own, saying she reminds her of an elven princess from folktales, who was compassionate enough to pity the Devil King, despite being the hero's friend. On the way back, she tells Seka about her elven lineage. Asked about the type of guy she'd marry, she describes him perfectly, but is, as usual, met with an oblivious response. Deep in the forest, a group of 5 demon-like beings terrorizes a lone man and his summonings. Refusing to speak in fear of his life, he summons a powerful cyclops, which easily falls to Zor, the devil god swordsman. Set on a mission, he vows to end the hero's life, even if it costs his own. Seka feels their presence far away, but joins his friends, knowing they won't be a problem at all. Miyu is shocked, as Seka suddenly asks that she meet his family, explaining that he's returning home for summer, and that his family wants to meet the Omni-Elemental Sword Mage. He invites Mabel as well, and go their separate ways. However, he's unhappy as the one who requested to see them is related to the government. At the estate, Luft welcomes his brother and his guests, and Edis welcomes his daughter home as well. Just then, Gray appears with a scream, shouting that he's been waiting for his return. He surprisingly seems happy, sharing how the army fits his lifestyle well. That said, he still resents him for embarrassing him, and challenges him to a duel. Interested, Miyu volunteers to take him on instead, as a prerequisite to fighting the younger brother. Certain that she'll win easily, Sika gladly acts as the referee. However, Gray uses a cunning trick to beat the hero, and says no one cares about honor on the battlefield. He moves on to challenge his brother again, but a woman suddenly appears, interested in her paladin's fight. Seeing the princess, the knight questions why she's walking around alone, saying she's giving his men a hard time. As she backhandedly predicts his loss, Gray surprisingly abandons the match and introduces Fiona, the Imperial and Holy Princess. 15 years ago, one of the priestesses in the Imperial Temple was impregnated by the Emperor. As such, she was born with both clerical and Imperial blood. She later reveals the purpose of her visit, which is to meet Miyu, after hearing about stories of her achievements. Looking at her characteristics, the princess thinks that it must have been the same image her mother saw in her final moments. She then thanks Sika for granting her abrupt request, to which he says he'll grant as many as she'd like. Fiona says she wants them both as paladins, but knows that it'd be improper to ask. Instead, she requests that they accompany her during her stay. As they part ways with a smile, the others are in awe, not having expected to meet the Holy Princess at all. During dinner, she suddenly says that she'd like to soar into the skies, if ever she were to be reborn. Seka suggests being a bird in the southern forest, but she prefers to be something stronger, like a dragon. He says dragons have troubles of their own, and shares how he's encountered one with Aoife over the past summer, and even got familiar enough to ride its back. Fiona is amused by their close relationship, and finds it interesting how the academy treats nobles and commoners equally. Watching them get along, the head of the house recalls his conversation with Edis, who harbored negative feelings over her daughter's abrupt change in life. More than the enrollment to the academy, he's displeased that she was assigned to Sika, who he believes is an awful child. Believing otherwise, he vouches for the child, and later praises him for his work in Asteria. As he shares how the academy is still a good place, he's surprised to hear his mother, who had always ignored him, ask that he write to them more. Later in his room, Yuki expresses her dislike for the princess, something the boy already expected. He shares that she's a lot like her former wife, but can't expound as Miyu suddenly enters his room. Not caring about his complaints, the girl rests on his bed, saying she needs to unwind. Talking about their plans after studying, she shares how she's set on returning home to be an adventurer. Recalling their promise to adventure together again, he says he plans to do the same, and asks that she teach him about it all once they graduate. Accepting, the two make the promise again, and she takes her leave. The next day, the 3 guards accompany the princess, with Gray acting much more mature and reminding his younger brother to keep an eye out for anything strange. They arrive at the market filled with people, and Fiona takes Seka's hand, not caring about her standing. Enjoying the food from the stalls, The princess notices a couple clinging to each other and wonders how one could get so close. The two share stories of saving or being saved, which happens particularly often with adventurers. As someone who's always overcome things on her own, she says she's always dreamed of being saved, looking right at the boy while saying this. Still holding hands, Fiona drags Sika over to a construction site, ignoring her paladin's warning. Just then, a rope tears and a bunch of timber falls, but Miyu and Gray immediately move to protect them. The guard commends the hero and scolds his brother for being careless. Meanwhile, the princess thanks them both, despite having an unhappy expression on her face. As the commotion draws people's attention, the paladin says it's time to go. For now, Seka buys Fiona a hair accessory and summons a mirror to show her ponytail. Later, at home, he approaches his older brother, impressed by how he's still training. He then talks about how the holy princess is a politician at heart, but spent most of her life confined. That is, until she exposed herself to the world. He then reveals her ability to see the future, received from her mother, who once foretold the birth of the hero and Devil King. Fiona looks around the entire mansion, searching for Sika, as she wants to have tea together. He sneaks around outside, finding her sudden interest bothersome. As he tells Yuki about the differences between divination and foresight, he adds that she shouldn't pose a threat if he keeps his distance. He runs into Miyu, who shares that she just lost to Gray in another duel. As he wonders how she's losing, she encourages him to spend some time with the princess, since she's leaving the next day anyway. Feeling bad, he approaches Fiona, who's playing chess by herself. She invites him to take a seat, saying she'll play with a handicap. Playing with only pawns and a king, she confidently proposes that the loser grant the winner a reasonable wish. While playing, she suddenly asks which piece he thinks is the strongest. Seka says that they, who control the pieces, are the strongest of them all. She's delighted by his unorthodox answer, but points at an empty space. Instead of the title holders, the strongest are the nameless and unseen masses, capable of toppling the system. Without them, statesmen cannot accumulate wealth and power. Her life is similar. With no kings or knights, she had to rely on the pieces that no one paid attention to, and as such revealed herself to the public, because they are the strongest. She then says she's going to win their match, and he asks if her future sight told her. He already had his suspicion, as she knew that Gray would lose if they dueled, and that the lumber would fall. Fiona says that the future she sees can still be changed, as human lives do not hold meanings preordained by gods. Realizing this, she decided to live according to her will. With that said, he concedes their match, believing that she's good at the game, regardless of her power. Moving on, she wonders how she can earn his trust, so he suggests revealing her weaknesses or true intentions. Immediately beginning with her weakness, she recalls how she feared eating stew near fireplaces as a child, as she thought that it'd bake the flour inside her stomach. He laughs at her childish fear, and she moves on to her intention, which is essentially to save people from the danger only she knows is coming. Confirming that she's acting on her own, he happily offers to help as much as he can. Satisfied with their game, the princess stands, saying she'll think hard about the order she'll give him. Meanwhile, the group of demons is still terrorizing the forest, killing and eating everything in their way. The leader, Zor, takes care of his powerful team, which has only grown stronger during their time together. At the mansion, Luft sees their guests off, saying they soon have to decide on their plans after graduating, and inviting them to visit again. Mabel says she wants to stay forever, as she was able to spend the entire time lazing around. As they joke around, Gray tells them to hurry up, refusing to waste time speaking to Luft, as they'll see each other soon anyway. After making an ominous joke about her paladin, Fiona apologizes for any inconvenience her stay may have caused. Journeying through the forest, Seka uses a talisman to monitor from the sky, and asks his brother if he isn't going to take charge from the front. He explains that the princess is his top priority, and that he can do both if an unlikely attack takes place. As if on cue, the decoy carriage at the front crashes, as bandits come to ambush. Archers surround and fire at Sika, but are no match for his magic. The leader urgently gives commands, as their targets begin to fight back. Gray takes charge, as said, and Fiona asks that they take the bandits alive. Obliging, the boy easily captures everyone, putting things to an end. The ladies return later on, belatedly realizing that they've left the main carriage behind. They came to help, but things were already settled when they arrived. While thinking about the whole incident, the princess suddenly calls for Seka and explains that they were assassins instead of common bandits. Already having foreseen it happening, she ordered spare carriages in advance, as having them walk would delay their arrival. He worries about bringing them all in and suggests that she take certain precautions. However, she's certain that no further incidents will take place, as she's already seen everything play out. The group says their goodbyes at the kingdom's gate, with Fiona feeling regretful. She would have loved to invite them all in, as she truly was grateful to have fun with people her own age. The princess promises to invite them all sometime and tells Sika, seriously, to never forget that she's on his side. At night, Zor's group rushes forward as their destination gets closer. Their mission is to take the hero's life, and they must be prepared to face any danger that comes. Driven by their individual goals, they set forth, aiming to secure the future of Devilkind. In the principal's office, Seka is told to represent the graduating class at the opening ceremony. As it's how it usually goes for students, he accepts the honor. Later, he assures Yuki that it should be fine, since the ordinary event is unlikely to draw any real attention. He's been thinking that his previous death might have made him live a bit too timidly. Having met his friends was undoubtedly a delight, and he's now looking forward to a career as an adventurer. Wanting to live a normal life from then on, he decides to handle things as they come and not worry about standing out too much. The devils arrive at the city gates, and Zor reminds himself that it's just another city, with a few more students of magic. There should be nothing inside that can threaten their party, so all the fear he's feeling must be from the pressure. Turning to his team, he repeats their plan to slaughter and draw the hero out. Planning to succeed with no casualties, they proceed with the operation, full of confidence. They teleport inside, but find themselves surrounded by a completely unexpected mist. Wanting to avenge his brother, Gannis attacks a couple of students. Meanwhile, Lonnie and Perslaria talk about how much the summoner has grown, and how she has finally found a mission she can be proud of. Seeing a student in the mist, the magic wolves follow and bring something back. On the other hand, Mudarev encounters Mabel, who attacks upon realizing that questions won't work. After a few quick exchanges, the devil is delighted to find a worthy opponent. Daggers dig into his arm, and gravity magic bindings wrap around his body. To her surprise, he easily dispels them, saying he's resistant to all elements. He slams his club down, but just sees the empty ground. A little while later, the group reunites somehow, all confused as to how it happened. They've all realized something wrong with humans, who disappear and are replaced with talismans once struck down. Worried, Zor orders an immediate retreat, but Sika appears, greeting them with a poem from a swordsman who hunted demons for a living. As the leader freezes in shock at what he sees, Mudarev tries to pick a fight with the powerful opponent, but loses his head in a split second. The sleeping girl tries to fight in anger, ignoring her leader's warning. Faced with her evil eye, he summons a snake with sewed eyes. Clutching her heart, she falls to the ground, lifeless, as the boy shares that it's a viper who has gained a truly evil eye, capable of stopping even the heart. Lonnie summons his creatures, which fall with no challenge at all. Facing the snake, he asks it to be friends, his usual method of taming. Without even expecting it, he's swallowed whole by the demon tainted with human malice. Zor trembles on the spot, already knowing that it was foolish to even challenge the boy. He tells Gannis to run and tell the people about what they know. Using his eye's power, one look showed him the boy's true identity as the Devil King. Seka says their plan to kill the hero won't work, as he's protecting her. Stunned, the leader realizes that the prophecy has come true, and the vilest Devil King has sided with the humans. As he decides to end them both, Zor tells Gannis to escape with his teleportation magic, and raises his sword in an attempt to resist the boy's power. The ground they stood on was completely incinerated, and the devil barely escaped into the woods, still in disbelief at who they encountered. Resting on a tree, he suddenly found a huge gash on his chest and fell lifeless. Meanwhile, Seka just stabbed a talisman with a blade, not caring about any runaways. Yuki fears him more upon seeing the display of power. Just then, Mabel came running, asking where the merchant's assassin was. Misunderstanding the situation, she says he must still be looking for her, and might get innocents involved if they don't act fast. Hearing her, he realizes that she must have been on alert for an attack from the moment her brother died. He calms her down, saying the attack wasn't meant for her, but for the hero. Moreover, he's already handled the situation, so the boy slyly asks that she keep the entire thing a secret. At the banquet before the ceremony, the friends talk about his upcoming address and ask about Miyu's speech during their first year. She had wanted to say something more moving, particularly about sharing a common goal despite their differences, but the devil's attack rained on her parade. The hero has no idea that she was the target of both attacks, aiming for her life. As he moved to deliver his speech, a group of Dilac Knights suddenly appeared, announcing Marquise Grevil's orders and looking for Miyu. Upon finding and confirming her identity, they charge her with treason for slaughtering ambassadors from the infernal lands just a few days ago. Unable to refute, the knights are ordered to restrain her. Charging Miyu with treason for taking the lives of devil ambassadors, the knights move to restrain her. As her two friends try to protest, Seka stops them, saying her innocence will have her released soon enough. The knights refute in anger, but are stopped by their leader. Later on, The principal is told about the incident, who already doubts that the hero killed the devils. The boy thinks that the Empire wants to fabricate a reason to dispose of the hero, but doesn't know why. She says she's doing all she can with her power, and that all they can do now is wait. Told not to do anything rash, he speaks calmly, questioning if her influence can guarantee Miyu's safety. Understanding that they have the same goal, he thanks her and leaves. Outside, he tells their friends not to worry, as the principal is doing what she can. Although he told them to sit still and wait, he later goes off alone. He summons the stubborn dragon, asserting his role as the master, and finally takes control of the troublesome demon. Yuki pops up, encouraging him to give up on the girl, as taking action might make him an enemy of the country itself, thereby putting him in the same situation as before. However, he doesn't care. Filled with painful memories, he decides to erase all in his way, silencing Yuki and riding the dragon west. Jailed in a cell, Miyu thinks about her future and wipes her tears as someone approaches. Quickly arriving at the kingdom, Seika unleashes a number of his shikigami, slipping in to provide him with information. Finding his friend, he easily steps into the empty courtyard, where a guard signals archers to come out. Their bows are no match, of course. He walks to the prison, but is forced to give a warning as countless knights stand in his way. Ignored, he mercilessly decimates and incinerates all in his way, and eventually arrives at the hero's cell. She scolds him for his recklessness, saying he's risking even his family, when she could get out for being innocent anyway. Knowing it won't happen, he reveals that she's the hero's reincarnation. Many will come for her life, as those without power fear those that have it. As he invites her to escape, he sends a spell someone's way. It's Gray, who questions why his brother is doing what he's doing. Fiona appears as well, and says that everyone around them is just there to make sure that they can have a conversation. She's come as a sign of sincerity, which might help him accept her suggestion. With their motive for targeting Miyu questioned, she explains how their country was once small and constantly drafted citizens to fight devils. The hero stood atop everyone, fighting for justice, but times have changed. Neither the hero nor the Devil King should be able to stand against the kingdoms alone. However, they can't just cast the hero aside, as her very existence could still spark a war. No one wants a war, even the devils. Their operations to take the hero weren't to gain a tactical advantage, but to maintain the balance of their races. Moreover, Miyu has yet to awaken the powers of the past heroes, mainly because of him. Her strength comes from overcoming difficulty, but she has stopped doing so ever since she met him. He keeps protecting her, even storming the kingdom to free her from prison. He questions if he should have just let her die, but Fiona says otherwise. Now, the Academy's faction, and even herself, are moving to protect Miyu. All she can ask is for him to step back and let them handle things, promising pardon for his actions that night, and recalling their bet for the chess match. However, he questions how he can trust her. Although she feels offended, she accepts his decision. As Gray is ordered to have the soldiers stand down, he gives his brother a disappointed look. The princess leads the two out, showing a supplied carriage and a free path to safety. As she gives her blessing, Miyu returns a blanket with gratitude, sharing how she and the paladin visited her, assuring her that she'll be released soon. Feeling guilty, Seika apologizes for going back on his promise. To make it up, he faces her kingdom, torn in shreds from his invasion, and summons countless shikigami. In seconds, the kingdom and its knights are brought back to life. On the still carriage, Miyu's head is filled with questions and confusion, but the boy asks first about how to make the carriage work. Fiona watches from above, and a pair of glowing eyes appear from her shadow, asking why the venerable Devil King is protecting the hero. She says that he simply cannot stop himself from protecting others, despite knowing that it'll lead to his doom. On their way, the two think about apologizing to their friends, and how they won't be able to graduate in the end. For now, they're partners who'll become adventurers together. Fiona lets Aoife and Mabel know what happened, and the partners eventually reach the gates of Lacana. There they see a commotion, and are shocked to see their two friends, seemingly picking a fight. With this, the four friends are reunited.